Nothing like this has ever happened here. Never.
The fear was intense. We lost everything.
September 19th is a fateful date for the people of Mexico. On the same day, but in different years, strong earthquakes occurred in the country. Their magnitudes and epicenters are different, but the coincidence is obvious to everyone. The year 2022, a devastating earthquake occurred at a depth of about 10 kilometers. Its magnitude was 7.6 according to the Mexican National Seismological Service. Homes and infrastructures were damaged. Full damage reports are not yet available. Casualties have been reported. Each tremors were strongly felt in Mexico City and at least 11 other central western states. Hundreds of aftershocks were also recorded, and a tsunami warning was issued. More than 1 million users were affected by power outages. People's first impression was that the earthquake was long, even longer than previous strong earthquakes. Another seismic event occurred on the anniversary of the two devastating earthquakes, 2017 and 1985, which once claimed thousands of lives. Every September 19th, Mexico celebrates National Civil Defense Day, during which mega earthquake relief trainings are held to increase the preparedness of the population for such an event. The country is in high seismicity zone, but after the recent tremors, many are wondering if this is an unpleasant coincidence or an event that deserves more detailed study. Taiwan, on September 17th and 18th, 2022. Two powerful earthquakes and several aftershocks hit the southeast of the country. According to official data, the first shock had a 6.5 magnitude and the second about 7. Next, we will tell you about the second earthquake because it caused a lot of trouble. Extensive landslides came down in the mountainous area, after which hundreds of people were trapped on the roads. A car with passengers fell off a collapsed bridge, and damage to one of the railroad platforms caused several cars with people to derail. The seismic event left behind destroyed houses as well as community infrastructure. It was felt throughout the island. According to Xinhua News Agency, there were casualties and injured people. A tsunami threat was declared. A week ago, on September 11th, a devastating 7.6 magnitude earthquake struck Papua New Guinea, and according to the USGS, in the first 3 weeks of September, the world has already recorded several earthquakes with a magnitude of about 7, which is, of course, alarming. On September 18th, 2022, the strongest super typhoon Nanmadol struck the coastal Japanese island of Kyushu. For a few days, it drastically changed the lives of millions of people. Tens of thousands of Japanese had to flee the dangerous weather and shelters. The natural disaster led to serious disruptions in transportation and to the closure of many stores and businesses. More than 350,000 homes were left without electricity. One of the main subway lines in the capital, which runs through the center of Tokyo and normally carries more than 1.5 million people per day, was closed because of the flooding. Unfortunately, the typhoon killed several people and injured dozens more. It is worth noting that almost a week before the event, Typhoon Muifa raged in Japan. The the strongest rains fell on the territory of Okinawa prefecture as well as on the island of Taiwan. The wind speed in the epicenter exceeded 100 miles per hour. Casualties were reported. And in China, Typhoon Muifa became the strongest in the last 73 years of observations. On September 14th, it brought heavy rains and gale force winds of up to 93 miles per hour to the country's largest city and financial center, Shanghai. More than 380,000 people in the city were evacuated. Due to abundant rainfall, some of the streets were flooded. The flooding affected logistics and transportation infrastructure. In Zhejiang province, which is close to Shanghai, more than 1 million people were evacuated. In the second half of September 2022, Hurricane Fiona hit the Caribbean. Its first blow struck the island of Guadeloupe on the night of September 17th. In the area of the city of Basse-Terre, as much precipitation fell within 6 hours as it usually falls in several months. A casualty has been reported. The next day, the hurricane moved to Puerto Rico, de-energizing almost the entire island. And this is more than 3 million people. And there are fatal casualties. The natural disaster caused severe flooding and landslides, leaving behind destroyed houses and bridges. Further, the hurricane headed to Dominican Republic, where massive floods occurred as a result of heavy rains. Almost 12,500 people were forced to leave their homes and take refuge in shelters. At the same time, in the United States, the remnants of Typhoon Muifa caused widespread flooding in western Alaska. Hundreds of people were evacuated. Flooding and wind damage affected about 50 communities. Water levels in Nome rose to 3 to 4 meters above normal, inundating a region 100 kilometers from the coast. It has been the highest storm surge in more than 50 years. It was the strongest September storm to hit Alaska since 1970s. In mid-September 2022, some European countries almost simultaneously found themselves in the grip of rampant natural disasters. On September 15th, the tragedy occurred in Italy. After several months of drought, the Marche region was hit by unprecedented downpours. Floods have resulted in loss of life. There are missing people and dozens of injured. In just a couple of hours, several times more than the monthly norm of precipitation fell. Streams of water and mud suddenly overwhelmed several cities, destroying infrastructure and changing the fate of people.
Everything happened suddenly, quickly, and it was too strong. I had gone down to the garage when there was no water yet. I managed to get the car out, but it had already been full. The other two were stuck downstairs, and the third one showed up later and stayed downstairs too. Nothing like this has ever happened here. Never.
It's a miracle we survived. Who could have known that the water would rush in so fast? My husband was calm. He went to get the keys to the top floor and we took shelter in the attic, but there was like a sea around the house. The fear was intense. We lost everything, including 3 cars.
It's just a disaster.
The water came here.
And reached all the way to the top. 2 cars were outside. 1 car was mine, a new one. Everything was washed away.
No, listen, please.
You lost everything.
It's impossible to tell. It's a disaster.
It was a monstrous force of nature. We weren't even expecting it. It was raining, but not enough to make it such a flood. And up ahead, you see where it reached? Everything was floating, cars, discontinued and frozen food. My car has gone like so many others. It was a disaster.
We have been flooded for the fourth time now. I threw everything out of the apartment. There are 3 dead people.
I assume you knew them.
Well, of course I knew them. We played tug of war with one of them, his 20-year-old son. Everything we've earned doesn't matter now.
Since yesterday, we have had no light, no water, nothing. It was a water flow from the river. But what can I know about what happened? I only know that at a certain point, bang, and there was nothing left.
A day earlier, the southeastern region of France were at the mercy of unusual powerful storms. In some places, the layer of hail reached a height of 15 centimeters, which is rather unusual. Dozens of residential areas lost power. On September 15th, powerful downpours with thunderstorms also took place in a number of regions of Croatia. Strong winds tore roofs of houses and buildings and overturned parked trucks. Unfortunately, there is a casualty. Next day, intense rain caught the citizens of Spanish Barcelona by surprise. The city of Mataro was especially hit hard. Here, a monthly rain fell within a day. Streets, cellars of houses, underground stations, and passages were underwater. Drivers were rescued from flooded cars by everyone who happened to be nearby. Cataclysms, epidemics, wars, hunger. The life of divided humanity is under imminent threat of annihilation. Is there a way out of these endless crises? There is. Our survival is in unity. November 12, 2022. Join the International Online Forum. Global Crisis. Our survival is in unity. It is critical to use an interdisciplinary approach of the entire scientific community to examine the causes of what is happening to the climate across the planet. Learn more about the real causes of the climate emergency at the Open International Online Forum. Global Crisis. Our survival is in unity. We invite you to join the forum on the November 12th, 2022